Hello and welcome to Gen Friends. I'm your host, Sherry Hudson Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And with me tonight on our panel is Christine Woodcock. And Christine's back from a 10-day trip to genealogy conferences. So we're glad to have her back because she's missed a couple of weeks being gone. Glad to have you back, Christine.
Hey, Sherry, good to be here.
And you run, tell me the name of your business.
Me? Genealogy Tours of Scotland.
Genealogy Tours of Scotland. Absolutely. One of these days, I'm going to take one of those genealogy tours of Scotland. It's on my wish list, my bucket list. Yeah, my bucket list. So I would love to do that. And tonight, our special guest is Laura Hedgecock, and Laura is going to be talking to us tonight about her writing tips for writing family history and for blogging. Welcome, Laura. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. It's nice to be here.
It's nice to see you. So tell me how you got started writing about family history and writing family stories.
Oh, okay. Well, I got started because I inherited some. My maternal grandmother, Hazel Crimes, wrote in secret all her life. And it was just a repurposed wire notebook. And she wrote by hand, but she wrote stories about watching her children grow, life on the farms, stories of relatives, prayers. And she waited until she was in the final phases of her battle with breast cancer to pass it on to the rest of us. And we promised via my one cousin that we would never publish what she wrote. So I can't publish her private writings. I wish we'd stipulated like maybe some we could, but I can pass on the passion for connecting with the next generation through narratives because I have a much deeper, much more profound relationship with her, really through her writing and through aging and going back to it again and again than I did in life. You know, because a kid knows a grandparent is a grandparent.
Exactly.
They're kind of in that bucket. But through knowing her stories, I know her in different phases of her life. And because she was in a very unique situation to know a whole lot of the extended family, and she wrote about all of them. So I have this really deep connection to a lot of her relatives, who are my ancestors.
Wow, what a blessing. I wish I really don't have any journals or, any spiral notebooks. I don't have anything, and I would love to have something like that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then on the other side of the family, my father's grandmother, after her death, we figured out that she had basically lied about her past. And so from her side, I have nothing. I just have this void.
Oh, wow.
And so the juxtaposition of those two grandparents and where that left me and how that left me feeling really led to me writing my book, it started out titled Treasure Chest of Memories. They changed it to Memories of Me, a complete guide to telling and sharing the stories of your life. Because it's so worth doing, writing those stories down and sharing pieces of the past.
Well, think how it's helped you. How much writing do you do about your family, about the things, your sons, your husband, your life? Do you do a lot of writing about that?
Yes, I do. I did a lot of writing for my book, and I've been pulling back a little bit, but yeah, even when I go back to it, I mean, I look at some of the exploits of my sons and I just crack up. The things that they did, and how that time you felt like, oh my gosh, I haven't taught them how to manage the world. They're going to end up in prison. They threw rocks at a church when they were 4 or something. And you just realize how you grow and how rewarding it is to watch them grow and to know them through their different phases.
Yeah, we used to every Sunday, I used to have my kids sit down and I would ask them when they were little, before they could write, I would say, what did you do today or this week? What can you remember? What was fun? And they would tell me, and I wrote it exactly the way they said it. I didn't correct spelling or, whatever, however they said it. I wrote it down. And so those are so much fun to go back and look at.
My mom had given me a little, it was really a travel book, but she gave me a book to keep by the couch so that, you got to write that one down kind of thing, that when they had their little antics, I would have it right there by the TV remote. And
that's great.
But what you said was a great idea, just to, especially if you have kids that are forthcoming.
Yeah. A lot of mine are, what'd you do today? Well, I woke up and then I got dressed. I brushed my teeth. I mean, the whole, like, I just wanted to know if you had a good day, if anything real important happened. But no, it was the whole thing. But my mom says I used to do that to her too. So I guess they inherited that. Christine, do you have any journals or anything?
I used to journal every time we went on a vacation. I started that like right when I was, probably 16, 17 years old. And I kept that up. And I still have those. And then when we took big family road trips every year, I kept a journal, and then I would make that as a letter and send it back to Scotland. And my aunt used to really look forward to that. She'd put it in her purse and she'd take it to work and she'd take it into the village, and like everybody knew, even though they didn't know me, they knew my whole life. And I actually not Christmas that just passed, but the one before, I took that and made it into a photo book for the kids.
Awesome.
So it's 7 years of our road trips, and then I've put photographs to enhance each trip as we've gone along. So, and that, they absolutely loved getting that.
That's great. And it's so important because, we look back and we forget these things. We think we're always going to remember, always going to, but we don't.
I did the thing when my kids were little, the stuff they used to say. I remember my daughter, was in the days before Facebook, right? And she had an email, and she was grounded, and she came downstairs and she said, "Could you check my email?" And I said to her, "But you're grounded." She goes, "Yeah, but you're not."
I love it.
So all that kind of stuff I have kept for them. Yeah.
That's great.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. And I was also going to say, we were thinking about some ways to do some stories. And the other day, my kids were talking about just some crazy pranks. So we decided, and who did the craziest thing growing up? So we decided we have a reunion every other year. So we've decided at our next reunion, we're going to put all the little ones to bed because we don't want to give them any ideas. But like 16 and up maybe can join, And we're going to sit around the campfire and we're going to talk about all the pranks that everybody has pulled. And then we're going to record it. Somebody's going to I'm going to make sure, like, I pull out my phone or something, and we're going to record the whole thing. And so then maybe we can write it up. But I think sometimes, we get into situations like that, a family reunion or just, a gathering that you do maybe every Sunday with your family or whatever it might be. And then invariably people start, remember when, and you did this, and why did you do this? And you didn't let me do this when I was a kid, that kind of thing. And we need to record them. We need to keep those because those memories are so important. And I know we've all heard this, that if you don't write down a story, it's lost in 2 generations, so.
Yeah. And also we're so more geographically dispersed than we were 2 generations ago. My parents were both the first ones of their families to leave the state of Virginia. Like they got there in the 1600s and stayed.
Kind of sounds like my family.
But I mean, their generation, my mother's siblings left as well. And my cousins are spread out. And so we don't have the little get-togethers.
Right.
Or if we do, it's a wedding or a funeral or, and so that's so easy then for those stories to slip through the cracks.
What would you suggest a person if they're, thinking, where would I start? Where would I start collecting and gathering and putting these things together? First of all, probably is to get your book and get some tips on how to do it.
Yes, go directly to Amazon. Do not ask go.
Well, you can.
We need to put the link up, Sherry.
We will, and we will put the link up as well to your website. We'll do that as well. So we'll have that on.
I think one of the easiest things to start with are exactly what you're talking about. Those stories that we all rehash over and over. Maybe we even embellish them some.
Oh, they get bigger and bigger, don't they?
All the family reunions, because those are the ones that are easy to write because we can write them with passion. And we might even have several different versions, like my version and my sister's version of what happened. And
Yes.
everybody say, but it's those stories that we've all heard over and over again. We like to laugh about them. I think those help you start getting some momentum. And one of the things I actually, in thinking about coming on tonight, I put together a post today with like 5 tips to break procrastination about writing your family stories. And one of the things I do firmly believe is you have to allow yourself just to write a draft, and not even as perfectionist researcher, genealogist, we have to give ourselves permission just to get it on the page, and we're going to revise it and make it nice later. But let those memories flow and just enjoy remembering them. And make yourself notes about find out exactly what park this was, or how old was Uncle so-and-so, and just get it down, and then you can edit and make it what you want it to be later. But enjoy the memories, especially the first time through.
Sure. Christine, what were you going to say?
Well, when Laura was talking about, just the momentum, it's funny. It's like, it's the same as when you're all sitting around the campfire and somebody tells a story, and then that sparks somebody else's memory, and it sparks another one, and stuff that's so deeply buried that you forget. Mm-hmm. So once you get on a roll, it's like, it's like telling jokes. Well, wait till you hear the one about, right? And it's just constant. That's such a good idea.
Exactly. Yeah. And even the campfire is a great example, because sensory rich memories are easier to recall because of the way our brains store our memories. So that's why you smell something you haven't had. You smell cotton candy at a fair, and you suddenly have those memories running back. So you can also go back to those memories that had a sensory component, like those sunny days at the beach, and those memories will come back. But once they start coming, memories beget memories, just like stories beget stories.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. I just want to go stop and start writing.
I know. Hold on, Laura. We'll be right back.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to go write a little bit. So what gave you the idea to write your book?
Well, it was partly I had not been feeling good for quite a while, so I wasn't going back to the corporate world. But also it was just realizing that the power that some of these memories that my grandmother wrote, the power they continue to have in my life, the way they connected me to my family. And also, my parents were both killed in a car accident. And her memories were such a great comfort. And I didn't have my parents, but I had my grandmother's memories of raising my mom. And so I just thought, okay, I can't share grandma's stories, but I can share what she did. I can make it easier, because my book is kind of just a very loose roadmap of how you might start writing down your stories. It's not a do it my way, put it this way, go step 1, step 2, step 3. But it also lowers the bar. It's a collection of memories and stories. It's not a memoir. It's not a complete family history of every ancestor of every generation. So it's something that people can not only do, I think it's something that can be really enjoyable and really gratifying.
Well, sure. And, depending on your personality and your family, there's so many different ways that you can do this. I mean, people think about, they have Facebook pages for their family. People can share memories on that. And that's one way to get stories down, because sometimes you can't get them to give it to you any other way. And so, we can use the technology, the social media, the things that we have today as well to get those stories down. And blogging, you've got a blog, and you teach people how to blog as well. What would be the first thing you would tell somebody if they were kind of nervous about a blog?
Wow.
Because I know the first time I was nervous. When I had to hit publish, I was scared to death.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some people are more nervous about the technology than they are about the communication or their reasons for blogging. And I think that's an easy hump to get over, because the technology is it gets user friendlier every year.
Absolutely.
I think the people that I would, urge to think a little bit about is if they really have no idea what they'd blog about, what they would say, what they would do, I would kind of urge them, well, think about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. What is it? I mean, you can start collecting what you'd blog about, and see if you have a place you'd like to go. But yeah, also you don't have to want to attract a worldwide audience to blog. It can be just a very simple way of sharing memories. And in fact, some of the blogs registered at Genealogist are private blogs. Like if you and I went to them, we couldn't get in because we don't have the password.
For anybody that's watching that isn't familiar with Genealogist Tribe, why don't you tell them what that is, since you're a fearless leader when it comes to the Genealogist Tribe.
You can take the fearless out. No, Genealogist Tribe is a group of people that blog about genealogy, that support each other, exchange ideas. And the website is basically the vehicle by which we do that. We celebrate each other's blogiversaries, which is like an anniversary. We have a Facebook group as well. We share ideas and tips, and we even encourage each other to read each other's blogs and leave comments and things like that. So it's for bloggers, about bloggers, by bloggers.
Exactly. And that's a great place to go too if you're, thinking about starting a blog and maybe have started your blog and not quite sure which direction you want to take it. It's a great support group for blogging. Yeah. So I would encourage, we'll put the link to Genealogist in as well, because that's a wonderful way to get blogging and get those family stories out. And, I started my blog just to get the stories out. And also to hopefully find some cousins that can help me, learn more stories. But it's thrilling because I've got grandkids that will get on and look at the stories and leave comments from time to time. And that's just wonderful to know that they're reading the stories for maybe a homework assignment, or something like that, and they know they can go to my blog and look some things up. So
I have to say that's one of the most fulfilling things about blogging is you get contacted by someone that something you've written has made a difference, or maybe they have a common ancestor and you shared something that they didn't know.
Exactly. Now, another idea, my daughter, every time we have a reunion, she has everybody send her the pictures and she makes a Shutterfly book. So, we have a book for each of our reunions every year. And so that's a good way too because, a lot of times people don't want to read stories, but they'll look at the pictures and that'll bring back those memories. So,
and even just the little captions under stories, a lot of times that's a great way to get someone to come into a story, is just with some of those captions.
Exactly.
Especially if they're, one of the things my sister loved is, we always joked about my dad having big ears, and my sister, she used to wear her hair really long to cover her ears. And so we found a picture of my mom hugging a mule, and I sent her the picture and I just put the caption, "Mom's love affair with big-eared animals starts." And it just cracked her up because it's just the entrance into a story.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I wish all the photos that I had have stories to go with them that I found, in different drawers in people's homes and grandma's drawer. Oh, what were they thinking?
Right. And why didn't they write at least something on the back? My grandmother, who told stories, would write on the front of the photo who people were. My other grandmother, I have a picture of her as a teenager with a friend. They're like cheek to cheek. No idea who the person was.
The intro for Gen Friends is actually a picture of my grandmother with one of her best friends. Luckily, we know who that friend is. I wish she had maybe, I wish I'd found that picture before she passed away so she could tell me what they were laughing about, because they're just laughing, just giggling, and that's why we chose to use that picture. But I wish I'd seen it before she passed away, see if she would remember what was going on, because I bet that was a good story. I'm thinking maybe it was about boys. They look like they're about 14 so they're probably talking about boys. That's what most 14-year-old girls are talking about with their friends. So.
But that is, since you brought that up, that is another great way. Like, we want to get our oral histories from the generation above us, and going through photo albums with with them is a great way to start collecting the stories and just start asking little questions like, oh,
Yeah.
you're at the beach, but you were wearing long sleeves. What was going on here?
Yeah, yeah. And I wish I had done that. I did interview her. I did interview several people. But by the time I really figured out what I should have been doing, she had Alzheimer's and she just really, couldn't remember much. So I really regret not sitting down with, a photo album and just saying, tell me about these pictures. She's got one in there that was sent to her by somebody, probably one of her neighborhood friends, after World War II, but they were still in Europe. And you know what it says on the back? From yours truly. I don't know who yours truly is. It wasn't like a boyfriend or anything because she was married and her husband had been killed during World War II. So I'm thinking it was probably just a neighborhood friend, that she'd grown up with, but yours truly. Have no idea.
A big insider joke.
I just don't even know. I mean, I wish I'd seen that one so I could figure it out. I have no idea who this guy is. So I've tried to match it up with some pictures from her yearbook, and I've got a couple of people I think it could be, but it's hard. From the time he graduated till he went off to war. People look a little different after they've graduated. So I don't know, but I wish I knew that story.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Sherry, what you do have, even if you don't have every single story, is you have, and you can put down in writing and share with all your kids what she meant to you, what your relationship was like, what kind of personality she had.
Sure.
And that's gold.
It is gold. It is gold. On Sunday, I teach some youth at church, and we do some family history during the month. And, I get we're doing family history again. But I had them come. Their assignment was to come with a story. And it could be their story, something that they had done, a story, a remembrance of a grandparent or whatever. And to come, and then we pulled up Family Search, and I showed them where they could, write the story in. They could do an audio version. They could put video up there, whatever they wanted. But they thought it was really cool, too, that now you can add your pictures from, Instagram on there. So they were really, really excited about that. But I had kids come, and one of them had just gone on a fishing trip. And when he was pulling back, he caught a fish. He was pulling it back, and he snapped up his rod, and it hit him in the head. And so I said, that's a great. So he pulls up the pictures to show me the blood running down his face, showed me the picture of the fish. So, I'm trying to introduce them to the fact they need to write these things down. But a couple of them did come with stories about their grandparents and things that they wanted to remember about their grandparents. So I thought that was really great. So we get them started early in doing that. They're going to be able to pass that down. And I was telling them how important that was, because it's always going to be there, where if you write it in a journal, it could burn in a fire, it could get lost. But if you put it out, like on Family Search or on a blog, hopefully it'll always be there.
Yeah, that's true. But the other thing is too, is even if you lose if they've known it, they've shared it with each other, they have this sense of where they come from.
Exactly.
And that is so important in getting your roots, even if those people are gone, to have the sense of your past. It really, it empowers you to take a step into the future. I really believe that.
Oh, exactly. And it was really funny, as a couple of the kids, we got some siblings in the class, and they started arguing over a story. That's not what happened. It was really funny because, everybody experiences things differently. And so when you're thinking about a story, it is a good idea to ask other people who were involved for, like you said before, their version of the story, because they're not always going to be the same.
No, they can be vastly different.
Even if you're in the same room at the same time, you're going to have different feelings and remember them differently.
Christine, did you just try to say something? Get in a word edgewise?
No, she knows. She knows just to jump in. She knows.
I would have just jumped in. But I talking about stories. That's really what got me started on family history, was my mom and my grandma telling the stories over and over and over again. And then just recently, I did a family history book, and I decided I was going to include the stories So I did, and I took it to Scotland, and we had just the best night, because it's been years since any of us remembered those stories or talked about them. And, you say, I wrote down the version that I had always been told, and then they'd say, no, wait a minute, that's not exactly how it happened, but it was awesome. Just fabulous being able to do that.
That's a great idea. That's a wonderful
Yeah.
idea. I love that. I love
And then
that.
the photos that go along with it, right? And that, like you say, it just sparks memory after memory after memory.
Exactly. Exactly. This is so fun. Laura,
Isn't it?
what other tips do you have?
Trying to think through my little 5 tips. I think another tip that I really, really stress, especially with people that are really used to academic writing, is to put your heart on the page. And for some people, that's really a stretch. They're much more comfortable with the facts and it happened and the research and the footnoting, but it's they putting their heart on their page, talking about feelings. I think that's an important component to our family stories. And it doesn't always have to be rainbows and ponies either.
Exactly. Exactly. Our families need to know about the sad and the hard times that happened in our lives. They really need to know that, because I know for me, reading through some of the things I have found about my ancestors has helped me go through some hard times in my life. And so we need to record those things just as we record the rainbows and butterflies, as you're talking about, because we need to understand and learn that our ancestors either had courage, and sometimes, they may not have even been really good people, but that's okay. We need to know the true stories of people and not try to sugarcoat everything. I think our kids need to know where we came from and why and who they are.
That's very true. In fact, I'd go so far as to say is if you are sugarcoating, you're not allowing others to get to know the person that was. They're getting to know a mirage.
Exactly.
And that's, at some point, they're going to hit up against emptiness with that.
Well, because sure, yeah.
Our relatives were not perfect. And sometimes we loved them in spite of their faults, and sometimes we loved them because of their faults. I mean, sometimes just that grumpiness or that biting sense of humor, it was the reason we trusted them for advice, because they would shoot straight. Even if we didn't like getting hit, it meant we could trust them, or we knew where we stood, or things like that. So I think, the whole smorgasbord out there.
Yeah, and I think we do a disservice as well too, because if all they're reading is this happy stuff that all their ancestors did, and then they have difficulties, they're going to wonder what's wrong with them. How come their life is like this and nobody else's was? So we really need to tell the true story the way it is.
Yeah. Then that walking to school through the blizzards.
Exactly. Well, when we were last month, I showed them some journals, and we talked about journal writing. And I was brave enough to bring some of my old journals from when I was a teenager.
I would not have been brave enough.
Oh, and see, some of my kids are in this class too, and they were laughing so hard. I mean, I didn't let them read it closely, but I was holding the pages up. Look at this boy looked at me today. I was all excited, and I had to write it in my journal, and said, if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't be having the fun today, guys, looking at this. My kids wouldn't have been howling in the background.
That's right.
So, it's just so important to keep these things down.
Yeah, when I go back to, I would not share my teenage journals with anyone, just because it's such a blithering idiocy.
Well, and mine are. Yeah, mine are.
My letter, when I traveled, because I traveled a lot when I was younger, and my parents saved my letters, and I actually love reading my letters, and their letters were back to me, because they just reveal so much of the relationships and just this easy way we had. Like, I wrote on one postcard I wrote, I like this so much, I wanted to keep it, so I'm sending it to you. Like, how self-absorbed would you be?
But hey, that's all right. It fits perfectly with those years in your life,
But now, as a parent with self-absorbed kids that travel, I would be happy with that.
Exactly. Oh, that's so much fun. And like I said, I really wish, I do have some postcards and things that were written, but no no journals, no inside stuff. No, my grandmother, when my grandfather died in World War II and she got remarried, threw away all of his letters because she was, I know that's so sad, because she thought that she kept a lot of his stuff. She wasn't being, I don't know, faithful to the next marriage, but luckily
she just passed it on to the next
and
generation.
that's what my mom says, and that's what I say. But I was able to get some that he had written faithfully to his parents, who kept the letters, and now they're in my possession. Actually, now they're in my mom's possession, but I've got copies of them. So I do, and so Mom was 3 when he died. So through these letters, she's been able to understand a little bit about his personality, which she never knew before.
Right.
So,
wow.
One quick story before we have to wrap up here. So she's been addicted to Dr. Pepper her whole life. Just the woman drinks Dr. Pepper. Not so much anymore, but all the time I was growing up, she was drinking her Dr. Pepper. So we were reading through one of these letters, and it said how much he couldn't wait to get home. And he talked about taking my mom to the Five and Dime in Charlotte and buying her Dr. Pepper.
Oh, wow.
Is that just gives you chills? And she's like, that's why I like Dr. Pepper. He got me hooked on it. And probably for a long time, she probably thought of her dad until those memories faded,
Right.
So writing things down can bring so much back and so much joy to pass down to, your future generations. So gather those stories, tell those stories. Any last words from either one of you?
Just do it.
Just do it. I think that slogan's been taken.
Exactly. And I think sometimes we're just afraid that maybe our writing is going to sound stupid, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. That's not the important thing. Say that again.
It's not a contest.
It's not a contest. It's not a contest. And if you want to blog and you don't want other people to write it beside your family, keep it private. You don't have to. It doesn't have to go out for the whole world,
Just before you wrap up, there's a website. It's called Blog to Print, and it will usurp your blog and create a book.
Yes.
So when we closed down our family blog, I made sure that we had books. We had it in book form so that it's always there for the kids.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. There's 2 of them. I'm hoping I've asked a blogger that's used them both to maybe write an article for Genealogist Tribe. So all of us could kind of see the pros and cons of the different software that will do that. I think that's a great idea though, Christine. I'm glad you brought that up.
I think so too, because there are those family members who are never going to get on your blog. No matter how much you tell them you've got good stuff on there, they're just not going to do it.
There's a family from my kid's school, and they just lived in Germany for 2 years, and she blogged about the experience and talked about some days she was really lonely because the kids were at school and her husband was at work and she didn't have a job, and it was so different than what she was used to. And I said to her, when you're done, when you come back to Canada, you need to get that into book form so the kids always have that.
This is so true. Because they might not get on the blog, but if she's got the book laying there, they're going to flip through the book. I mean, my kids go through our family reunion books all the time and go back and remember, what the funny things that we did, the Quidditch game we played, and all these funny things.
My kids remember when my younger son, I think he must have been like 12 at a family reunion. He was the youngest big kid, and they played hide and seek, and he got put inside someone's suitcase, and they loved to remember that he was just in a suitcase that was just out in the open, and nobody thought to look in it.
Who would want to look in the suit? Yeah, why would you think of a suitcase? That's great. And like we said, those memories can get lost if we don't do something.
Yeah, and when it comes to the quality of your writing, if I can have a last word, I would also say if your writing sounds like you talk, if you write kind of conversationally, your loved ones will love it, because it's like having a piece of you. It's like you coming over and having a cup of tea and just going down memory lane with them. So I really don't think we need to put pressure on ourselves in that regard.
That's a great tip. That is a great tip. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us
Well,
tonight on
thanks
Gen
for the
Friends.
invitation.
You're welcome back anytime. Anytime. Just let me know you're free on a Monday night and we'll get you right on in here.
Okay.
Oh, with that, thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us talk tonight about writing your family stories and getting it out there for you, your children, so they can hear your voice and the voice of their ancestors. And hope you can take a few minutes to think about the things that you would like to write about and get started. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.